I never thought about that. It comes from that fight and flight response is connected with that test anxiety. That's never even occurred to me.
Yeah, pretty,
So,
pretty incredible.
yeah, that is really incredible. So, what do you do for if a kid goes into the fight mode? How can you approach it with them?
Yeah, so again, you get curious and you're saying, so I'm wondering, what's going on? What happened last time when your parents were asking you about getting started with your homework? What made you so angry, right? Or what were you feeling?
Hello, and welcome to Season 4 of the Online Tutor Business Podcast. I'm your host, Joanne Kaminski. Back in 2010, I dove headfirst into the world of tutoring, armed with a wealth of teaching knowledge, but little idea about the business side of things. Fast forward to today, and I'm here to share my journey and expertise with you, helping fellow tutors turn their passion into a thriving career. And this season, we're focused on the needs of independent tutors who are eager to make their mark in 2024's dynamic online tutoring landscape. We've lined up some incredible guests whose experiences and insights are sure to inspire and guide you. Our mission is to equip you with actionable insights, practical strategies, and that extra dose of inspiration to help you expand and refine your tutoring business. If you find value in our podcast, please subscribe and share it with others in the tutoring community. Your support means the world to us. Thanks for tuning in. Now, let's jump right on into our next guest. Hey everyone, welcome to the Online Tutor Business Podcast. So glad that you are here today. I have Maria Sevilla here, and she is a bilingual educator with over 20 years of experience working with children, teens, young adults, and their families. She holds a master's degree in education and a bachelor's in communication sciences and disorders. And she's a certified ADHD life coach, a peers certified provider, and a certified clinical hypnotherapist. She specializes in assisting individuals facing challenges with executive function and social skills, offering strategies to manage social anxiety, stress, negative thinking, organization, and planning. And her approach incorporates meditation, mindfulness, and guided imagery to support her clients holistically. So, welcome, Maria. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much. I'm very honored to be here, Joanne. Thank you.
You're welcome. Can you share a little bit about your journey and what led you to become an executive functioning coach and ADHD life coach?
Absolutely. So, as an educator, I was always drawn to the quirky kids, and I was very happy working with kids with special needs. And then I became the parent of a neurodivergent child with ADHD. And the experience, that firsthand experience of the challenges with planning, organization, focusing, overwhelm became my own. I realized that the classroom strategies that I had accumulated over the years were not enough to support my daughter and were not enough to support my clients and the students at that time. So I decided to pursue the executive function field and become a certified ADHD life coach. But over time, I also noticed that there was a strong connection between the kids that had the executive function difficulties and social difficulties. They also struggled with anxiety. Like my daughter, she had social anxiety and self-regulation difficulties. And that inspired me to become a certified clinical hypnotherapist. So with all these trainings combined, I'm able to provide the tools to support my students manage their emotions, build resilience. And these skills have really supported not only my clients and my students, but my own daughter and me, right? Because I use those
Mhm.
strategies on me as well.
I love it. So, with your expertise in executive functioning ADHD coaching, how do you approach test anxiety specifically, and what makes it unique from other challenges that students face?
To address test anxiety, you first have to become very curious. And the first step is to gain awareness about where anxiety is coming from. What's the root cause? Anxiety manifests itself in three ways: the fight, flight, and freeze that we've heard so often. So I help students identify these patterns. For example, if the student is very defensive and they don't want to, they're like angry with their parents or slamming the door when the parents ask them about the test or when they're going to study, we are noticing that there's the fight response happening. So when the student is procrastinating, avoiding, leaving things till last minute, that's the flight response operating. And when they're feeling overwhelmed and paralyzed in front of a book and not knowing where to start, that's the freeze response. So when we pinpoint how the anxiety is showing up, we're able to implement the targeted strategies to support the student. Now, what makes the anxiety unique is that connection between the mind and the body. When anxiety takes over, what happens is that the brain shifts into an emergency mode, stress response is on, and I see the fire alarm in your brain is going crazy. Then the executive function systems shut down, and the planning and the focusing go out the window. My approach helps students regulate their emotions so they can move out of that stress danger zone, and they can go back into a productive, more a state of safety, so they can start learning.
I love that. Yeah, I never thought about that. It comes from that fight and flight response is connected with that test anxiety. That's never even occurred to me.
Yeah, pretty
So,
incredible.
yeah, that is really incredible. So, what do you do for if a kid goes into the fight mode? How can you approach it with them?
Yeah, so again, you get curious, and you're saying, so I'm wondering what's going on. What happened last time when your parents were asking you about getting started with your homework? What made you so angry, right? Or what were you feeling? You want to ask what emotions they were feeling. You want to point out where the emotions were felt. And then the kid can start becoming curious himself. Is okay, I was having this big test, they were pressuring me about, but then we start going deeper, right? And it's like, so what was happening? Why were you not studying? Because I did not know how to study, or because I don't understand the material, or because they're pressuring me to get an A on this test and I don't think I'm able to do it. They're feeling so stressed, so challenged, but they don't even understand what's going on. So that's why the curiosity is so important, and you've got to keep asking questions until they become going with that aha moment is, oh my God, that's what's happening. And then we start figuring out what are some of the strategies that we can implement to support them.
As a tutor, what are some signs that we can watch for that would indicate that a student is struggling with test anxiety?
Sure. Common causes for the test anxiety will include perfectionism. I work a lot with
Mm.
ASD clients that are perfectionists. They cannot get, it's the A or nothing. That low self-confidence. Oh, everybody's better than me. I'm not going to be able to do it. I work a lot with imposter syndrome as well. The kid that's really smart gets into the school of their choice, and then they start struggling the first semester because everybody else is better than them. Past failures. If I've had a test that I really studied hard and I thought I was going to ace it and I didn't, so then what's the purpose of studying if I can't do it? Again, parental or peer pressure, and the executive function challenges. Working with kids with ADHD, they're having difficulties that it's not that they don't want to do it, it's that they can't, and they need to be taught specific plans to support them in order how to approach that material and the tests. So tutors need to be aware of what are the underlying causes that are stopping kids from being able to perform well in the test, and what's bringing up the anxiety.
Do you ever find that sometimes all of these things are like the underlying factor, or is it really just like one that's the pinpoint? You can see perfectionism, low self-esteem, imposter syndrome, past failures all
Yeah,
combining to kind of.
absolutely. They're interconnected, but usually
Yeah.
one usually it's like the one that when you find it, you hit the nail with a hammer,
Mm.
and then everything starts making sense. But it is absolutely, I don't think that they're totally interconnected. Yes. Like with my
Yeah.
daughter, test anxiety, I knew it was the executive function, but it was also, she was in a very competitive school, so it was peer pressure, and it was that overwhelm, and so a little bit of everything, right? And the imposter syndrome, yeah, definitely, there's a connection.
And so if you do pinpoint it, let's say you pinpoint that it's perfectionism, that's what's causing the test anxiety. Now what's the next step?
Okay, so let's say that students want to ace that test, right? And otherwise they're not going to want to study. That's when you start creating a plan. So we talk about the three parts of test taking, which is the before the test, the during the test, and the after the test, because there's very different things happening then. We talk with the student about what are the things that they are putting in place before the test to support them. So with this perfectionist kid getting the A, what are they doing before the test, right? How are they planning? How are they prioritizing? How are they chunking their work? Do they know the type of test they're going to be taking? Is it a multiple choice versus a oral test versus a essay? Is it a standardized test? What kind of test? The kind of test is crucial, right? So then do you know the content? Do you actually, are you comfortable? Are you going to need a tutor? What are you going to need, right? To figure out
Mm-hmm.
how to study for it. And then the executive function portion is where you are doing the chunking, the planning ahead, and making sure that you have a roadmap of how to attack that test.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Mm-hmm.
with the perfectionism starts, they're like, okay, so I can check all these things of what I need to do every day that's going to lead me to my goal. But
Mm-hmm.
then we're also working on progress and not perfection. I can't stress this enough, right? It's the process. If you're starting to implement the tools, not only executive function tools to keep you accountable, but also the self-regulation tools to keep you calm and to keep your thoughts in check, then you've got to praise yourself. You got to pat yourself in the back. You got to become your very best friend and say, okay, this is what I'm doing. If I get a minus, a B plus, that's all right, because I'm an A plus person. So we're working toward progress. We're looking at what are the things that I'm doing that are helping me, that are supporting me, that are making me better than last time, versus it's not an all or none, right? There's too many things other
Right.
than grade. It's a lot more than a grade.
Right, exactly. I love the point where you said you got to be your own best friend. And I think even looking at it as what would you say to your best friend, use that same language for yourself
Exactly.
too, right? If this were your best friend and they were going through this, what would you say to them? Because we all want to lift up our friends and go forward from there. So that self-talk during the test is so important. What about those steps after the test?
Yeah, and again, with perfectionists and with kids that are having a lot of pressure, either to get into the school of their choice or they want to be top of their classes, whatever it is that they want to be, their critic shows up and starts self-doubting them, like, oh, well, I don't think you did the right thing, or what if you don't get the grade that you were supposed to? Oh, that means you're not going to get into the school that you wanted, and everybody's going to be ashamed of you, and blah, blah, blah. So then you gotta really stop, catch the critic,
Hmm.
right, and bring your inner coach out and let your inner coach, your best friend, say, you know what? Test is over. I can't do anything about it. Going back to what can you control, what you can't control. I can't control it. It's over, right? What happened, I can't control. What's going to happen, I can't control. What I can control is what I'm doing right now, which is telling myself I did the very best I could. I prepared for it. I had my plan. I showed up for the test. I was there on time. I took the test. I answered all the questions. And you know what? I survived. Pat on the back. Moving on. What did I learn? When I get the test back, how can I implement strategies to improve on those questions that I didn't do well? Or was it the type of test? With a lot of my ADHD students have a very hard time with multiple choice tests or SATs, ACTs, because their working memories are challenged with the executive function difficulties. And therefore, you need to really work on implementing the strategies to be a better test taker. It doesn't reflect that you're smart or not. It's just that it's a different type of test. So that's
Hmm.
what you want to really catch the critic and stop it and let it know, reframe with positivity, and just give it facts about what you actually did to do the best you could in that given test.
Yeah, perfect. How can tutors help students better manage their time and plan their study schedules to ease that anxiety before a test?
Sure. So this is key, right? With especially with kids with executive function difficulties, I would say in general, but specifically with kids with executive function difficulties, it's having the plan, right? Like I'm saying, it's just knowing what that test is going to consist on. What is the subject that's going to be taught? And then start planning backwards. So when is the test happening? And then really scattering that study, because we want to have enough repetition. We want to implement the variability, use all the different study senses, study with a buddy, do the mock tests. That takes time. So if you start studying the day before, forget it. It's not going to happen. So you really gotta, the way the executive function coach, the ADHD life coach, the tutors, it's just planning. Okay, let's look. I have a system called the bird's eye view. We look from a stretch, a week from now, a month from now, what's coming up. And then we start planning backwards. Okay, so the test is next Thursday. What are you going to be doing Wednesday? What are you going to be doing Tuesday? And the mini steps, which are the smaller the step, the more the brain is going to agree to do it. Because if you see a mountain of stuff that you have to do the night before, you don't do it. So that's when the
Right.
freeze happens. Forget it. I'm not going to do it. Or you'll get angry or you run away, whatever that is, right? But if you have the plan and you're able to implement a little bit at a time and you have someone checking in with you, that makes a huge difference.
I love that. That is fantastic. All right, now let's go into this mindfulness or guided imagery. How can that be incorporated into tutoring sessions to support the students with test anxiety?
Okay, so this is the beauty of it, right? And it's the checking in. Every time student shows up to a tutoring or coaching session, you got to check in. Where are you? I use a scale, 5-point scale, right? Where are you? Number one, are you calm? Are you okay? Is that amygdala chill? And then are you ready to learn? If you're in a 3 because you were driving and you were all upset or you broke up with a boyfriend or whatever that is, we're not in a good place right now. So we're going to have to do something. I'll tell you what it is in a second in order to move down from a 3 to a 1. And if you're in a 5, okay, I don't want you to be here because you're going to be pretty out of control, right? So we don't want to escalate to a 5. So this is all right, really self-awareness, self-regulation. So let's say you're in a 3 and you're like all stressed about the exam that's coming or whatever that is. I've created a 4-step strategy called the BEAM strategy, BEAM. So if I may, I'm gonna walk you through it so you would know what it is. It's real quick. I practice it with my kids before the exam. They got to get really good at it, right? And then when the exam comes, they can practice it during the exam if necessary, right before, during, and then they can also practice it after. So what happens is the B, you do the breathing. So you teach them belly breathing. You teach them to put their hands on their bellies, breathe in through their nose for 3, hold it for 3, and then slowly exhale for 6. So usually double the inhale is the exhale. And do that for 3 times. While that's happening, then the E happens, which is eyes closed. It's helping by closing our eyes, we're grounding ourselves. We're engaging our body with the present moment. We're here, not in what's going to happen or what happened the time before, but right now. And you want to remind yourself as you breathe, I am safe. That's all you got to tell your amygdala. You're safe. There's no emergency, dude. You're okay. Just chill. So eyes closed. And then you go to the M. I'm sorry, the A, which is achieve, right? And your mind, that's when the visualization happens. What is it that you want happening there? Or if we're in the session, what do I want happening right now? I want to calm down. If it's in the test, do I envision myself doing that test, answering all the questions, being relaxed, handing the test with a smile, the proctor smiling at me, or my professor saying good job, and then getting that test back and getting an A on it or whatever. So you're really achieving whatever it is that you're visualizing it, that it's happening as if it already happened. So it's that very clear color, movement, vision. Make it as real as you can. And then last but not least, you're doing your mantra, which is that little saying where your self-talk or your inner coach goes, you've got this, or that's okay, or you're awesome, or you can do this. And then just put it all together. So you're breathing, you're keeping your eyes closed, keep making sure you're safe, you're visualizing the end result, and then you're going, I got this. And then you can do that. And it takes a minute to do it. So you
I
can,
love it. That's like a real quick reset.
yeah, and then you put all the strategies together because you're doing breathing, you're doing eye closure, you're practicing safety, you're bringing visualization, and you're practicing self-affirmation with the use of your self-talk.
All right, but we're all human. And those dang negative thoughts, they just want to hop on in there and pop that bubble, don't they? So how can we help kids learn how to reframe those negative thoughts or beliefs about their abilities, especially when they have, let's say, struggled with tests on the past?
Yeah, absolutely. So two ways, right? The first thing is you want to guide the students to identify what they can control and what they can't control. This is super important, right? Again, what they can control before, during, and after the test. Now, this helps them focus their energy on actionable steps rather than dwelling on the things that are not uncontrollable, right? Now, second, you want to teach your students to recognize that inner critic, catch it when it's showing up, and you want to write it down. You want to write down what the critic is saying and then replace whatever the critic is saying with evidence-based affirmations of things that you are actually doing to defeat it. So that's when your inner coach comes to place. And I usually have my students draw their inner critic, give them a name. I practice NLP exercises to shrink it, make it black and white, to mute it. We do all these different exercises. We really work with the critic. And then we really build up the inner coach and we make it colorful, strong, and supportive. And then, for example, if they get something that says, this test is impossible, right? The inner coach is saying that. And I said, what is your inner critic is saying that? And what is your inner coach going to say back? Oh, no, it's going to say, hey, hold on. You make this test. Yes, sure is hard, but you prepare the best way you can. And you already know what to expect. So I've got you, right? Don't worry, kind of thing. So really is what I can control versus what I can't control. And there's a lot of things they can control. It's prepping, it's the chunking, it's the eating before the test, is getting the support they need with tutors and coaches, with mental health providers, is advocating with their peers to study with them, whatever that is, being before, during, also implementing the tools and the strategies of relaxation and self-talk, and then after, again, not allowing the critic to chime in, but bringing the coach out.
I love this. I actually pictured myself being removed from the situation when you talked about the inner critic and the coach. Like, I'm watching this conversation that's happening outside of me, and that I think is so important because I think we just like we put so much on ourselves, but to watch that conversation almost happening in real time as this is happening is so powerful because you're removing the ego. I feel like when you do that, and you're allowing yourself to accept yourself for who you are and be coached by yourself. And really, those are the thoughts that are going to help us be successful later on in life, which is so important.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Love that you bring this up because, yes, we also want students to become disengaged. So it's not them, right, that are in fault. But when you are able to exterior or externalize that inner critic and that inner coach, then you're giving them the power to manipulate it and change it and turn it into whatever. They're not in charge of you. You are in charge of it. So it gives them the control. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And these are skills that serve you in every field in your life. When students are coming to me for test anxiety and we learn these strategies, they're using it for everything else in life. I use them for whatever situation I have because it really is teaching me how to self-regulate and how to be in control of my emotions.
Oh, I love it. So what resources or tools or practices would you recommend for tutors to explore to continue helping their students with test anxiety?
So there's a lot of apps that, like, for example, Headspace, I like Smiling Mind. I would really encourage tutors to begin using those strategies with themselves, like try it with them. And then I encourage them to get curious about what are the things that heighten their anxiety, right? What is it that is making me uneasy? To do this constant personal check-ins, to do the check-in before their sessions, to see where they're at in their scale. Because if the tutor is stressed, it's going to be very hard for them to be able to co-regulate with the student and then share that calmness, that chill sensation to help them be more productive, more focused, more relaxed, more in tune and connected with the tutor. So I would say continue to practice those strategies and then start implementing the small steps, that just simple check-ins. Where are you in your scale? Do some breathing, do some grounding exercises. You can find this all over the internet, and there's just so many amazing resources now that it's just a matter of seeing what exactly you want to achieve and then just start putting them in practice and go slowly. do a little bit of time, always ask the student for consent, right? Are you willing
Right.
to, I notice that this is happening. Would you be willing for me to show you a strategy that has been really supportive with other students and with myself? It's going to take you 3 minutes to learn. Are you up for it? Or do you want me to share an app that I found super helpful? And then they'll come back to you and they'll say, Miss Sevilla, I found this app that's amazing. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, cool. I'm going to put it in my list. Let them get excited and let them share and ask them the next time, hey, you were supposed to do that. How did that work? Because it takes time to practice and build. It doesn't happen from one day to the next. You really have to be intentional about implementing it every session, implementing every day. And then so when the test comes, it's natural. You're just using the tools. I always give them the example of Captain Sully in the Hudson. And I say, why do you think the guy didn't crash and everybody died in that plane? How did he manage to land in the middle of the Hudson River? It's because he had done that. He had practiced that strategy over and over again. So when the emergency actually came, it was natural. He just put it in place, right? So that's the key, to do it before the emergency happens.
I love it. And you mentioned getting consent, and I know Gretchen Wagner, she has the consent burger and all of that. Why is consent so important when it comes to working with kids?
Because if they're not up to it, they're not going to do it.
Right.
It's as simple as it is. 20 plus years of working, and you can teach them and preach whatever you want. But if the kid is not ready, if it's not their goal, if they're not really figuring out what's in for me, if their skin is not in the game, no change is going to happen. So my approach is always starting with the kid's goals. What are your goals? Okay, you want to get grades. You don't want to be scared when you take a test. What is it? Okay, so we're going to work for it. So this has happened that you work with 100 more kids like you that were experiencing X, Y, or Z, including my own daughter, and I'm seeing really great results. Do you want to try a strategy that I may have to share with you? And the moment they say yes, they're going to try it. They're going to practice it. They're going to look for new ones. But if you just impose and you're like, oh, I'm going to teach you this, blah. And then there's also, if there's teens, they're going to be resistant because they're teens. And they're going to go, no, what is this strange lady telling me that she knows more than me? No. So the war is over.
Yeah,
so you really want to empower them, right? You want to say, hey, I care about what you have to say, and I care about what you want and what you want to achieve. Can I help you in this way? And if they say no, then how else can I help you? And they're going to tell you what to have. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. How can tutors stay connected with you, Maria, and learn more about supporting students with executive functioning challenges and test anxiety?
Absolutely. They can reach me at my website, Rewire ADHD. I have a link there with a free consultation. They're happy to get in touch with me there. I'm also in LinkedIn, Maria Sevilla, Facebook, Rewire ADHD, and I do a lot of Instagram videos and free resources for tutors, for parents, again, at Rewire ADHD. I have my YouTube channel also. So Rewire ADHD, where you find Maria Sevilla, Rewire ADHD, I'm there hoping to share some little tools and gadgets and nuggets of wisdom to support the families of students with executive functions, ADHD, social skills challenges, and more.
Perfect. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to share those great strategies. I know so many people, I don't know too many students that don't have test anxiety these days, and they're scared to let down their parents or let down their teachers, or then those past failures, all those kinds of things that just come into play. And so it's so great to know those different strategies so that we can be the best tutor possible to be able to help those kids when those situations arise. So thank you for doing what you do, and thank you for sharing all this great information.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here, Joanne. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, each and every one of you, for lending me your ears and your time. Choosing to spend a part of your day here with us on the Online Tutor Business Podcast means the world to me. Your support fuels our passion and drives us to deliver the most valuable content we can, episode after episode. It's because of listeners like you that this community continues to grow and thrive. And I have an exciting opportunity for those of you that are ready to elevate your tutoring business. Our monthly group coaching plan is designed specifically to help you reach new heights. Whether you're looking to refine your strategies, expand your client base, or simply need guidance on your journey, we're here to support you every step of the way. Don't let another day pass wondering, what if? Take the first step towards your dreams and goals. fill out a form to request a time to chat with a current member of our community. It's easy. Just click the link in the podcast description to get started. Let's make your tutoring business not just survive, but thrive. And as we close today's episode, I want to leave you with a thought that I hope will resonate with you as you continue on your path to success in the tutoring business. Remember, the beautiful thing about learning is that nobody can take it away from you. In every lesson you teach, in every challenge you overcome, you're not just building a business, you're shaping futures and igniting a love for learning that will last a lifetime. Your impact extends far beyond the immediate lesson. It's a ripple effect that can transform lives. So, as you move forward, take pride in the knowledge that what you do matters deeply. Keep pushing boundaries, keep inspiring curiosity, and never underestimate the power of your role as a tutor. Together, let's continue to make a difference, one student, one lesson at a time.